everyone. This is Marisa B, host of Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. Welcome. Today I have with me Dr. Wanda Jeanty. She's a medical doctor as well as a Master of Science for International Health. Dr. Jeanty and I know each other for quite some time, and she is involved with public health, mental health consultations, and she deals with body, mind, spirit, wellness. Hello, Wanda. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, Marisa. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I'm so thrilled. Today, Dr. Jeanty is going to be speaking about the mind-body connection with gut health and how it deals with not only wellness, but mental wellness as well.
Thank you, Marisa. So I'm going to share my screen, and
Yes.
I will allow for questions that are pertaining to the slides. If you have any further questions, you can always put that under the comments, and I will absolutely get back to you through my contact information that you will have.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So let's start. So I'm going to just give me one moment here to show my slides. All right. So today's talk is one that is extremely personal to me, and it has to do with gut health and mental health. What the health does the gut-brain axis have to do with mental health? And as you can see to your left right here is a little graphic, if I will say, about some bacteria in your gut. And we are talking about this part, which is your colon or your large intestine, as some people will refer to it. And then here's your brain. And as the commercial always says, any question? So we are going to dive in. And what are we going to be talking about? Actually, we will make sure that you understand the difference between mental health and mental illness. So mental wellness is going to be very important for this discussion. Then we'll dive into the new science of mental wellness. Now, it's not as new as many people may believe, but see, when you don't know what you don't know, the information is new. And then we will talk about the microbiome or the gut flora, which is responsible for many of the body functions that so many healthcare practitioners may not know about. So this is going to be a really informative session with many of you who are listening right now. And then we will talk about the personal strategies that you can use in order to not just improve your gut health, but your mental wellness as well. All right, shall we begin? So what is mental wellness? Well, there are different layers to your mental wellness, but if I can capture that in 3 words, I would say it's your interpersonal relationships, your mood, your behavior, and your thoughts. So I said 3, but I will add a 4th. But I want to illustrate that even better so that you have even a better sense of the additional layers to mental wellness. Can anybody, while you're probably looking at a blank screen, you must say, let me think about what I can think of. So let me, as I tell my students, let me alleviate you from your misery here. Here we are. So look at that, right? So when we think of mental wellness, right, we think of focus. Some people say, my God, I can't focus on anything. Pressure management, well, that's another word for stress. And then your confidence. So many people that has a lot to do with
Mm-hmm.
our mental, because we don't think we are enough. We don't love ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the stress resilience. How do you really bounce from a stressful situation? Are
Mm-hmm.
you one who is easily irritated in a snap of a finger? You just get, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you just are cool as a cucumber. Something happens, you're going to have a level head, as they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have mental performance. How much do you accomplish every day? Can you can you start and finish a task? Some
Mm-hmm.
people, now
No.
some people see now some people now I hear Marisa says no, but because so many of us we are like that. We start something and we
Mm-hmm.
may not finish because we're multitasking, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the worst thing that you can do now, I know some people are gonna say, well, I'm good. I can do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people
Mm-hmm.
who are good at doing it. However, research has shown that we can
Right.
only be good at doing one thing
Mm-hmm.
at a time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, I'm not here to judge.
Right.
If you
Right.
can multitask and do something
Mm-hmm.
great, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be the first one to applaud you and I'll say, give me some tips. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
uh Physical performance. And physical performance, I know people hate the
Mm-hmm.
E word, which is exercise, but you
Right.
see,
Well, it's part of the system, though,
yes,
right?
yes, it is. So when we say physical performance, it's whatever activity you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Dancing, walking, absorbing nature.
Pickleball, right?
Pickleball,
Pickleball.
yes,
I
me,
love that. I
yes,
know you play pickleball.
yes. Marissa knows my favorite sport in the whole wide
Yeah.
world, right? Okay. So, see, you have a sense. Now you may say, well, you said you're going to talk about mental illness. So, I want to make sure that you make that distinction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, mental wellness includes these six components. Mental health, on the other
Mm-hmm.
side of that, is
Mm-hmm.
really a component of your physical health. See, Marissa
Mm-hmm.
and I, we always talk about um, health, but see, most people, when they talk about health, they forget one thing. They
Mm-hmm.
always talk about the physical, but they
Right.
forget the mental
Mm-hmm.
health.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, most health providers, health practitioners, forget that component
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's mental illness? See, people say,
Different. Yes.
mental health, mental illness, it's the same thing.
No.
No, it's not.
Right.
And I'll prove it to you because you say, what is this? No,
No.
no. I'm gonna give it to you straight. Mental health has a diagnosis to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference. When we talk about mental wellness, we're looking at the individual, your
Mm-hmm.
life, your as Marissa loves to say it, mind, body, spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you see, so it's not just your mind; it's the
Mm-hmm.
connection with your body. You
Mm-hmm.
see, so that is the mental wellness component.
Mm-hmm.
So don't, as they say, don't get it twisted
Mm-hmm.
with mental health, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now you've got the two distinctions. So, of course, here's a question for you. If you had to choose mood, metabolism, or motivation,
Mm-hmm.
which one would you like to improve? See, I had done a poll and it was
Right.
interesting that so many people either said all three
Right.
and or the most, I think the most was the mood because
Really? Yeah. And
yes,
I would pick,
it,
and I personally, I'd pick metabolism
see,
because
look at that.
mood and motivation are fine for me. I have plenty, but it's the metabolism always looking, I listen, none of us can live forever unless someone
Yes,
knows that secret that they haven't told us, but no one can live forever. But while we're living, we'd like to live fit, well, healthy. I mean,
e-
that's really the
ex
the important part, right? We don't want to be living with dis-ease and dragging it along
exactly.
with us, right?
That's right. Okay. So whatever you picked, Follow along in the next slides. So here's a little quiz for you. Okay. And it's a little more detailed. So if you really want, I call it my happy quiz. If you really want that, let me know and I will send it to you so we can do that at the end. So 3 important facts about mental wellness. It's not just in your head. It's in your gut also. See, now I know I got your mind blown. And you say, what?
Well, that's why I had heard you talk. I had heard you talk and I said, I need to have you on the show because it's so important that people really understand this, right? For mental wellness, that it is the gut. It's amazing.
That is correct. So that's one part. Number 2, did you know that we had a second brain? Now, most people say, huh? What? Or some people say, yeah, I know about it. Chances are you don't. You may have heard about it, but you don't know to what extent we mean by the second brain. So we are talking about bacteria that live within us. So I'll talk to you more about that in the next few slides. Number 3, you can do something naturally to improve your mental wellness. See, a lot of people are looking for natural solution. I'm not talking about woo-woo science. I'm not talking about witchcraft. I'm talking about science that has been developed and really well researched and evidence-based. See, I hear all the time people say evidence-based. I'm going to give you more evidence-based that you can snap your finger to. All right. So where are you on this mental wellness continuum? Okay. So when I actually did this, I was a 7. I was around here. I thought I would be a 10, but you know what? I'm very honest with myself and I put myself exactly the way I felt all these years before I ever heard of this gut-brain axis. Because even as a healthcare professional, they didn't teach that in medical school. And I know many of my healthcare practitioners' friends don't know enough about this or know very little. So if you want to share this information with your physician, please let me know because it will absolutely change the way they treat many of their patients. So here you are. So you can see it's color-coded, by the way. We have a disease status from maroon to red, all the way to almost yellow. So from 1 to 4, disease this would be where you would be in disease status mode. And I love when Marisa said dis-ease, because when I heard that, and I heard this years ago, and I never realized that's right. We are not at ease, because that's what literally it means, not at ease. Think about that, right? Dis-ease. So here you are, depression, anxiety, diabetes, obesity, and so forth. You can read it for yourself. So if you are in that realm of 1 to 4, put your number down. If you are now going toward the yellow, green to the blue, what we consider normal, right? And you notice normal is in quotation mark.
Yes.
Fatigue, tension, sad, brain fog. You can probably relate to some of those symptoms, what you're experiencing, what you're feeling.
And how many people fall with the brain fog category? So many of my clients, they come in and they'll say that they have brain fog or they can't concentrate and there's something like a veil over their brain or their thinking. It's amazing how many people.
Exactly. And it's so interesting that we're talking about brain fog because I don't know how many people know about Tony Little, the guy who said, "You can do it," from years ago, the fitness trainer. And he had brain fog, and he was and he found a natural solution to brain fog. So if Tony Little can
Mm-hmm.
find out about brain fog and do it in a natural way,
Mm-hmm.
he saved himself thousands of money. So,
Yes.
I heard his testimonial, and I was completely in shock. I said,
Mm.
wow, interesting. So Marisa, stay tuned for that one. So again, if you are in that
Mm-hmm.
area, put yourself as a 5, a
Mm-hmm.
6, or a 7. And then, of course, we're talking now toward like the optimization of
Mm-hmm.
health, 8, 9, and 10, where
Mm-hmm.
you are energetic, you are on top of the world, as they say. So now we're going toward the blue, toward the
Mm-hmm.
purple. I'm going to challenge you and ask you. Oh, I'm going to challenge you and let you know and ask you, can you beat my 7? And let me know. All
Ah.
right. So I'm looking forward to it and
Mm-hmm.
your number. So now I was talking to you about science
Mm-hmm.
earlier. So what's the new science behind mental wellness? Now, I told you it's not really new, but
Mm-hmm.
you see, we go back to ancient times.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what, and a lot of people are actually including this mental wellness in their protocol
Mm-hmm.
because that is changing the game in healthcare when it comes to treatment outcome. And I don't care if you are
Mm-hmm.
just doing physical health, you need to add that component,
Mm-hmm.
be it as an MD, as a naturopath, if you're
Mm-hmm.
listening, naturopath, homeopath, psychologist, mental health
Mm-hmm.
counselor, mental health educator, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
If you are into that sphere, you need to listen to the new
Mm-hmm.
science.
Mm-hmm.
So we've always been focused on brain. This is why there has been much research on the brain.
Mm-hmm.
But now we are actually focusing more on the gut
Mm-hmm.
because we've been relying on antidepressant,
Oh,
antipsychotic. The
yeah.
minute somebody is sad, all of a sudden we have to give an antidepressant.
Mm-hmm.
But do we have to? Or is there
Yeah.
something else that we can actually address before giving an
Mm-hmm.
antidepressant with the side effects that we
Right.
know? And I'm going to share a story very briefly. I had a conversation with a nurse practitioner, and he was telling me he works in a cardiac cath lab, meaning intensive care unit with patients with heart
Mm-hmm.
problems. And he was telling me, and I asked him, what do you think about, mental health at the hospital, especially where you work? He said, I see a lot of doctors, they're miserable, they're burning out, all this paperwork. I said, wow. And then I said, no, so what about the mental health, with patients? He said, I'm glad that you asked, because he said that there was a patient that they had admitted who was 80 years old, and she had lost a husband of 50 plus years, and she was depressed.
Of course.
Now, who's not going to be depressed
Right.
when they lose a family member? Isn't that a normal
Right.
response? And he even said they gave her an antidepressant. And he said, Wanda, why couldn't she have been sad? Why couldn't she have
Right.
gone through the sadness period? So you see, that's food for thought here.
Mm. It's funny you say that. I have a group that actually I was doing during the pandemic, that you have a right to grieve, because people don't
Yes,
want you to grieve. They want you to quickly take a pill and get over it. Hurry
I
up, run to a
love it.
doctor, get a pill, get 5 pills, if you will, and get over it, because there's no time. And the reality is we have a right to grieve, and we should grieve. It's a natural process.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. You just gave me chills, Marisa. Oh, love that. No, seriously, right? So, what have been the discoveries in recent time? Well, the second brain and this gut flora are the two most
Mm-hmm.
important components of what I'm about to share with you. So, second brain, as you can see it, and
Mhm.
microbiome. And I made sure that you saw those two because those two words are going to be extremely significant. So, of course, what some of you don't even realize right now is that mental wellness is at the forefront of
Mhm.
healthcare. Everybody is talking about it. And some companies are trying to figure out what can they do.
Mhm.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Um, if you're looking for natural solutions, you have to do your homework.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're going to harm yourself. So education is always, as I always tell people, is always at the base and
Mhm.
what you need to know first.
Mhm.
So what scientific shift has been happening in mental health? Three,
Mhm.
well, I should
Imagine that.
say three. So centuries ago, and actually I'll say 300 BC,
Mhm.
is when Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said
Medicine. Yeah.
all disease begins in the gut. Imagine
I know. Could you
he
imagine?
said that. And it's only in the last, what, 20, 17, 16 years that we coming back with it and say, oh, he
Mm.
was right.
Right.
Yes, he was.
Mhm.
And I'm going to show you how and now what has transpired because of this quotation, of this quote. So, looking at this image
Mhm.
to the right, when we are talking about your gut, we really are
Mhm.
talking about your digestive system,
Mhm.
but really this particular uh, part of your digestive system.
Mhm.
You see the one that looks like a question mark? I always
Mhm.
call it that. It's your colon, your
Mhm.
large intestine.
Intestine.
And within that organ, I'm going to mention the title of a documentary that I love very much. It's a TV series. I don't know if it's still
Mm.
on. The monsters that live within us.
Mhm.
But they're not really monsters. They're
Right.
actually our friends. And they
Mhm.
are called our gut flora. And we don't just have it in our gut, we have it all over the
Mhm.
place. But that will
Mhm.
be another topic. 90, and also, we are more bacteria than cells. See, if you remember biology way back
Right.
when, we always we talked about the basic unit of life being the
Mhm.
cell, but
So.
it's actually bacteria. And if you really look at this number, human genes 23,000,
Mhm.
90% of the cells in your body are non-human.
Mhm.
But 20 million of those
Wow.
genes are bacterial. So
Mhm.
imagine. So when we say your gut is your second brain,
Mhm.
it's because it is the one controlling most of the body functions.
Mhm.
Now you're going to say, how? I never heard that before. I thought it was our brain. Even a nurse told me that's foolishness. Neurotransmitters are produced in the brain. It has not even stayed current. So let me enlighten you, especially for those of you who are in healthcare. So remember when I just said about the gut flora,
Mhm.
and here you have it. It just gives you an illustration of
Mhm.
the bacteria in just
Mhm.
as a diagram here that live in, as I said, this very important organ called the
Mhm.
colon. So how important is this microbiome? And by the way, by the term microbiome or gut flora, we really are talking about a community of beneficial, good
Mhm.
bacteria and bad bacteria. But there are also important hosts, guests in that colon, parasites,
Mhm.
fungi, which we call yeast,
Mhm.
okay, and also and viruses. But the
Mhm.
most important part, and they play a very important role, is those bacteria, because we have more beneficial bacteria. No, actually, I will say the number of beneficial bacteria are a little more than the harmful ones, but they coexist. If I say to you right now, E. coli, how many of you are going to associate that with food poisoning? You can raise your hand while you're watching this.
It's funny that you say that, because my daughter was born early, and they said that it was an E. coli bacteria that I had systemically. And the first question they asked me was, did I attend some sort of festival or fair, because people had some sort of poisoning of E. coli from contaminated food, from water source, from animals in the water, and then the water coming down. And I was so taken aback by that I was completely in shock that, number one, I had not been there, let alone hearing about it, that this location had this happen. And then there I was, that I had it as well.
Exactly. And it's a very, and the reason I ask about that, because people associate E. coli with food poisoning, but they don't even realize that E. coli is part of us, exists in us. Now I know some people are going, oh my God. But more importantly, those bacteria that we have come from our mother. So if mothers do not eat well, they actually are transmitting either beneficial or harmful bacteria. If they eat a healthy diet during pregnancy, they are going to actually transmit that genetically, because in all of us, that gut flora, that microbiome that we're talking about, is actually just like your DNA. All of us have our unique population. Yes. So imagine, I'm unique, just like your DNA. But the important fact about that is that they've done research now where, when they compare individuals, they see that some individuals have the same bacteria that are needed for certain body functions. And then there are some who don't have them. And then that is what creates many times diseases. Let me give you an important research that they have done, and you can look this up. They did it with mice, and they did it for when they were looking at what causes many people to be obese, because I'll show you that it's not just genes. They actually transplanted, and they did that on humans also. They transplanted in mice a mouse that was thin. They took a bacterial gene, and then they transplanted that in a mouse that was obese. And then the mouse that was obese, who had the gene of the thin mouse, actually became thin over time. Isn't that interesting? They did it on humans. And this is actually being done as we speak. Fecal transplant. Okay. And I remember hearing that from my mom. I said, what? And I actually looked it up. I said, oh my goodness. So there are actually labs that actually ask you to send your stool, your poop. They sterilize that, and they actually extract the important bacteria. And they actually sell that.
Well, I read recently that the H. pylori bacteria that most of the doctors were attempting to remove, because they thought at one time that it was a clear indication of possible stomach cancer coming from that. Now they're discovering that not every single person that has that bacteria has it at a detrimental rate. Some people actually were born with it and they need it. So
That's
now they've
correct.
removed it from a lot of people, and now those people are having problems because it was
Correct.
removed from them and they should have had it with them because they were born with it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I will also go further since you're talking about babies and pregnancy. Did you know also that you are born with certain bacteria, and as I said, from your mother, beneficial ones if you were born with a vaginal delivery. You will inherit bacteria from a hospital. You would be exposed to the bacteria from a hospital if you were born with a C-section. And there has been research about that. I was shocked when I heard that on a webinar. I said, oh my God. And literally, I looked and I said, yep. Cleveland Clinic says it. Mayo Clinic says it. PubMed Lib. It was unbelievable. I said, wow, look at that. Things that I did not know, and a lot of people. So when people talk about, oh, I had eczema when I was a kid, psoriasis, I know somebody that I'm actually helping with psoriasis. It's unbelievable. These quote unquote childhood problems that come up could absolutely be addressed if you knew about the microbiome. Okay. As they say, trust but verify. So look it up, and I will share many of my resources with you for those of you who are listening. So how do you know if you have a gut imbalance or if you are imbalanced? Remember the scale that we just talked about.
Yes.
So all these symptoms are related to your gut. So now, if you're in balance, you feel great, energetic, you're happy, you want to dance, boom, boom, boom. But if you're out of balance, oh my God, how can I shake this mood? I snap at my children. I yell at my children. I got mood swings and so forth. I got headaches.
And you know that there's something, not right.
Exactly. And you know there's something not right, but people keep telling you, oh, it's nothing, or it's your age, or it's your metabolism, or it's this, or it's that. And then after a while, what do? You normalize it. So out of balance, you see all these are probably 80 to 90% of the population.
Yes.
Okay. So be very aware that it's not just in your head, it's in your gut. Okay. Now, remember I said that you have what we call the gut-brain axis. So what do we mean by that? Well, it's a network. When the word axis refers to a network of systems that work together. Your immune system, your gut, your digestive system, and your brain. All right. So that is what we call the gut-brain axis. Why? Because they communicate with each other. The gut, and you see right here, and you can see it on my picture right here to the right. You see that arrow going back and forth because there's communication between the brain and the gut. And it's through a nerve called the vagus nerve. Signals are sent when you're hungry, when you're satiated, when you're full, and so forth. So your mood swings. Have you ever wondered when you have mood swings while you're having digestive problem? It's not by accident.
Right.
It's because of that relationship, that communication. Because look, 95% of certain chemicals, and let's call some of those chemicals neurotransmitters. If you've heard of neurotransmitters, they are also called chemical messengers. That is how your gut, your immune system, and your brain function. They send signals to each other through these messengers. And therefore, any messenger that is at low levels will create problems. So many people don't realize that 75% of the immune system resides in your gut lining. So if you have a problem with your immune system, your doctor should be looking at your gut health, not giving you an antihistamine. It's only when you address the gut that your immune system is going to improve.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing. So keep that in mind. 75% of your immune system resides in the lining of your gut. Number two.
Look at that.
Exactly. And a lot of people are taking antihistamine, they don't get better, and then they have side effects, and then they're going to take medication for the side effect. When are we going to stop this?
That gives you more side effects, right? Exactly.
That gives you more
it's a vicious cycle, right?
Right? And also, the two most important chemical messengers that we all thought were produced in your brain are actually produced by those bacteria. What?
Wow,
those bacteria can do that? Yes. Dopamine and serotonin. Now, many of you may have heard of that, but you have no idea of the extent.
No, not at all.
Exactly, of the role they play. So serotonin is the happy, balance. Dopamine is more of the mood behavior. And 90.
I would have never known in the gut. Never known that.
Me neither. Right? I had no idea. I only learned about that in 2019. Seriously? So can you imagine? 95% of serotonin is produced by the bacteria in your gut. 75 to 80% of dopamine is produced by the bacteria in your gut.
Wow.
Even hormones, the hot flashes, ladies, the mental belly, and you are on hormone replacement therapy, and you are miserable as heck. You probably 15 years with hot flashes. There are solutions. It starts in your gut. Talk to your gynecologist. Most of the time, they don't even know. My gynecologist didn't even know about it. I had to let her know about it. And she said, oh my God, can you give me some information? So we're talking right now. So if you have a gynecologist giving you hormone replacement therapy, that is not the solution, especially if it's not working. At that. Okay. Moving right along here. So, of course, that communication goes both ways, as I mentioned. And notice the brain can affect the gut and vice versa. The gut can affect the brain. How? Have you ever said to yourself, fear of public speaking, oh my God, I got butterflies in my stomach. Where do you think that comes from? Hello? Or I remember a classmate in college, every final, she would break into a rash. That's not out of nowhere. That's because your gut is, so there is manifestation from your gut after a while that expresses itself. A lot of autoimmune diseases, they're finding out.
And there's so many, right? There's so many.
There's so many.
And so many people afflicted, but so many people afflicted with them.
Yes.
Right? My gosh, so much, right? Lupus and MS.
Yes.
And I mean, just incredible, right? And there's just so many, and you hear more and more people affected with it.
Exactly. I have a friend, she has psoriasis, and I told her about the gut and brain health. She is doing so much better. It's unbelievable. Okay. And she's been with her psoriasis for a long, long time. But this is just to show you, more and more research is showing the connection between autoimmune disease and the gut. Okay. So any chronic diseases, the trigger is, and the first event is always stress. But the second is definitely that gut health, those bacteria in your gut, as you can see from here. Now, of course, as Marisa said, we all know people who have many chronic ailments, right? Look at this list.
Yeah.
Pinpoint to any of them. You probably are saying right now, oh, I know somebody with sleep issues. I know somebody with ADD.
Oh, a lot of my clients come, a lot of sleeping, lack of sleeping erratically. Yeah.
We should
low
talk,
energy.
Marisa.
Yes. Yeah. Honestly. I mean, definitely. It's sad.
But it's sad because so many people, and I can't blame them, they give up because they don't know. They are skeptic. I can't blame them
Mhm.
because there's so much information. Who do you believe? Trust me, I was the same way.
Mhm.
Skeptic. Not that I didn't believe because I believe in science, but
Mhm.
definitely it helps when there is access to information, but more
Right.
importantly, access to research.
Mhm.
And if you know how to research, because see,
Mhm.
most people don't know how to research
No.
on the web. And definitely, I didn't come from Google University.
Yeah.
So let's keep that in check.
Yes.
Okay. And neither did Marisa. So
Yeah.
yeah, Marisa and
Yeah.
we're always talking about these things. So, definitely that
Mhm.
brain fog hormone imbalances, gut
Mhm.
health related, and there are natural solutions about that.
See, I'm an advocate for natural solutions. I mean, I have lots
Absolutely.
of clients that come, and I do, don't get me wrong, I do have connection with psychiatrists that clients may have to see for
Of
medication.
course.
However, I
Of
don't believe every single person needs to be on medication, nor do I believe they need 5 and 6 pills to just get out
correct.
of bed every day and function. And I think if the natural solution really is not harmful to their body, why not try it? So
Exactly.
I do refer also to naturopathic doctors, to MDs that believe in complementary medicine.
Beautiful.
So I do that as well, because naturally you need a licensed doctor to prescribe certain behaviors. I'm not going to tell a client,
Of
eat this
course.
or eat that, but if I refer to an MD or to a naturopathic doctor, that will work in conjunction rather than just someone who writes scripts. And you're
Yes.
going to take the pink pill on Tuesday and the blue pill on Thursday, and
Right.
and the side effects are so detrimental. And those are only side effects
Exactly.
that are and we know through research, right, that all those side effects are only possibly recorded. You only know side effects because they're recorded from subjects. What
Correct.
about the side effects that are not recorded or not proven to be from that medication? That
Correct.
cost is just too much to a client. That's
Exactly.
how I feel.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So you see, so I am
Mm-hmm.
sure you are probably relating to a lot of these, or
Oh,
people
yes.
who can relate to this. Okay? So of course, what are some of the solutions? Because yes, I talked about natural
Mm-hmm.
solutions. Absolutely. And the natural solutions, again, we have to be very careful. So you really need to be rooted in science, but
Mm-hmm.
also in the ancient ways, because there are people, I mean, when we talk about science, I'm really talking about people who are doing their due diligence,
Mm-hmm.
who are going out of their ways to go to uh, different parts of the world where they have been using herbs
Mm-hmm.
for a long time. And now we are, quote unquote, rediscovering
Mm-hmm.
what has been working for many cultures for centuries. And I'm just going to
Mm-hmm.
give you a glimpse of a particular culture, because I'm sure now, I don't even know if Marisa, if you knew this. Did you know that in India, there is no such thing as Alzheimer's?
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Oh, that's
Yes,
interesting.
exactly. And you know what? Now, I am not going to pinpoint that that is just it, but think about the herbs and the
Mm-hmm.
spices that
Yes,
they
the
use in
spices.
Indian culture. And I'm
Yeah.
going to give you one in particular that they have absolutely talked about, and
Mm-hmm.
there is reference to it with Alzheimer's and dementia symptoms, and that is turmeric. And we
Mm-hmm.
all know that turmeric is
Is
used in
right.
abundance in Indian culture. See, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that research, I said, wow,
Look at
so
that.
Alzheimer's is non existent or super or less than 1%
Wow.
in India. Wow. So
Mm.
imagine in countries like Japan, South Korea, or China. So it's just to let you know. Now, as I said, you have to be careful. You need to make sure that you know who formulates that. And
Yes.
I'm very lucky that at least when I'm looking at research, when I'm looking at if I'm going to buy supplements, that I
Mm-hmm.
know exactly what I'm putting in my body because I
Mm-hmm.
am very particular about that. So I don't blame you if you're a skeptic, but
Mm-hmm.
rely on science, but
Mm-hmm.
don't rely just on any type of science. You need to know who's behind the science,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And not believe blindly in this particular company, in this particular company. It's all about what they are. And also, you have to also think about educating yourself
Right.
before you can read any articles on the website because you don't know who's writing and you don't know
Mm-hmm.
the agenda behind that.
Yes,
Always
exactly.
remember that. I tell my students that all the time. So, personal strategies. What can you do to improve your gut health, to
Mm.
improve your brain health, and both? So, here are three things that I'm going to concentrate on, and this will wrap it up. Balance your gut with good nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say good nutrition, people say, oh, good, she's going to tell me all these things that are healthy. Oh, my God, I don't want to do it, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I'm not talking about a diet. When I say good
Right.
nutrition, I'm talking to you about cooking. And
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you what you can do to improve that. And it's not, and you're not going to hear me say organic this, organic
Mm-hmm.
that, because that will be another topic. But
Right.
let's put it, good nutrition simply means more vegetables, more
Mm-hmm.
fruits, cooking more at home,
Yes.
not eating processed food all day long.
No.
That's what I mean by
Exactly.
good nutrition. Okay, so let's not get it twisted. Let's not
Right.
assume the worst about the
Right.
word good nutrition because I know some of you go, oh my God, here or she's going to be one of those.
Mm.
Nope, I'm not one of those because I'm realistic. Not all probiotics are created equal.
Yeah,
This
oh,
has been,
absolutely. That is
whew,
definitely, I'm with you with that, right? Because you
this could be
don't
another
know. You
topic
have
by
to, that
itself,
is a whole other
Marissa.
topic, right? Because that's true, right? Because you have to do your due
So
diligence. Like you said
exactly,
earlier, what you put in your body, right? What you put in your body, you have to do the due diligence because not everything is created equal.
absolutely not. Okay. So if you are taking probiotics, listen up. Lifestyle choices is another area of consideration. You can't just take a supplement and call it a day.
That's right.
Absolutely not. Okay. And a supplement does not replace food. Get that
Right.
out of your head.
That's right.
Okay. A supplement does exactly what the word supplement means. It adds to your
Mm-hmm.
diet. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say diet, meaning your daily pattern
Mm-hmm.
of eating.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really the word diet means, not what you are following.
Right.
So let's get into it. Good nutrition. So three words that you're going
Mm-hmm.
to learn once and for all and what they truly mean. See, if I say the word probiotics, instantly you say, oh, something that's good for me. Okay, there are a lot of things that are good for you
Mm-hmm.
that do not have probiotics in it. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I can give you one that what we call lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
The one, and I'm not talking about bib. I'm not talking about
Are you talking about iceberg, the iceberg
yeah,
lettuce that they
iceberg.
use as filler? Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you,
Right.
Marissa. Iceberg lettuce. That
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing in there. There are no
Right.
nutrients
Right.
whatsoever.
No
So
nutritional value. Right.
if you think that oh I'm going to eat that all day, you just wasted your money.
Mm-hmm.
So let's concentrate on what we are talking about. Probiotics
Mm-hmm.
is only going to give you the health benefits if you know what the health benefits that you want
Mm-hmm.
is going to do for you. So probiotics are really food that contain bacteria. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you've ever eaten anything fermented or
Oh, yes.
right, you know, something with
I
the
added that to my, well, after we spoke not that long ago, I added that. I mean, I was a advocate for kombucha, which I drink regularly now. And I've added a lot more fermented to my diet, which I
me
have
too.
seen an improvement because I realized after we
Absolutely.
spoke, I thought, I do eat it, but on occasion, not as regularly as I should, perhaps. And so I've been adding it in on a more regular basis and finding that it's actually working quite well for me.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Excellent. So here you hear it from Marisa. But probiotics, it's exactly that. Food
Mhm.
that contains bacteria, good bacteria for you. Now you
Mhm.
may say, what? I got food that has bacteria in it? What are you talking about? Well, what do you think fermentation is?
Right. It's a process,
Hello?
right? Yeah.
Right? Fermentation, when you are fermenting, a lot of people are doing this now on their own because it's
Hmm.
easy, right?
Hmm.
But you are growing bacteria
Hmm.
in that solution of
Hmm.
vinegar and so forth,
Hmm.
right? So that does support your mental wellness and your gut bacteria,
Hmm.
especially when there are bacteria that are absent. You can absolutely uh, help that with
Hmm.
nutrition. However, as you will see later on, you have to know the strains. It's not enough to know if you look at a yogurt container, you know, a lot of
Right.
people say, oh yeah, acidophilus, lactobacillus, I'm good to go.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. No, not good enough
Hmm.
because strain of bacteria matters.
Hmm.
The strain of your probiotic bacteria matters.
Hmm.
Okay, so what are some foods that are good for you to have? Yogurt, kefir,
Hmm.
kimchi, kombucha.
Hmm.
See, kimchi is that cabbage that's very spicy that a
Yes.
lot of Koreans
Yes.
eat. I love that thing. Oh my God,
My
I
husband
can eat
does
that all
too.
day.
My husband
Yes,
loves it, absolutely loves it. He's
yes.
he's he's wanting me to learn how to make it so he can have it
Oh my
more
God,
often.
absolutely. Sauerkraut, miso, tempeh,
Yes.
all of this goodness. But so here's the issue though. Because I told you strain matters, but you see, it's also what you absorb. See, when you have a
Hmm.
chronic illness, name any chronic illness that you may have or
Hmm.
experiencing. The problem is in the absorption. So you could say
Hmm.
to me, but Dr. Wanda, I mean, I'm eating those
All
things,
this, yeah.
but I'm still having problems with my gut
Hmm.
because you may
Right.
not be absorbing what you
Yes.
need for the body.
Hmm.
That's why.
Right.
Okay. If you're not absorbing nutrients, yes, supplements will be
Hmm.
necessary. And
Hmm.
it's not because, I got to spend more money. Well, if you're looking at it that way,
Hmm.
then you're not really then you really are not understanding
Hmm.
what's going on with either the illness that you have and
Hmm.
absorption in general. So this is
Hmm.
an education per se for you. Prebiotics. Now,
Yeah.
there's not enough talk about prebiotics
No, not at all. You're right.
and and prebiotics
And I
are
think a lot of people don't even understand what they are.
exactly. So prebiotics are just as important as
Hmm.
probiotics. How? Because prebiotics are actually the nutrition source
Hmm.
for the bacteria to thrive in your system, right? Because they need to eat. So
Hmm.
whatever you're eating, they're absorbing.
Hmm.
So if you're eating good food, you are keeping the population, that community, vibrant.
Hmm. Yeah.
But if you're eating processed food, you are
Yeah.
increasing the population of the harmful bacteria. That's why you always have these problems, acid reflux,
Mm-hmm.
bloating, you name it. That comes from
Mm-hmm.
that. And many a times it comes from stress
Mm-hmm.
also. And now remember, you may say to me, but I eat good food. I don't really eat a lot of processed
Mm-hmm.
food. But see, when I ask more questions,
Right.
you are eating more processed food than you know. But see, stress can
Mm-hmm.
also endanger the community that you have that
Mm-hmm.
are the bacteria that we are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So the prebiotics are food that contain fiber because fiber is
Mm-hmm.
extremely important to
Oh,
those
absolutely.
bacteria.
And I
Okay.
think I
The more,
read somewhere that a lot of people, especially in the United States, have an issue with this, a
yes.
big issue with this. They're not eating as much fiber and they're having a lot of problems.
You see my two
Mm-hmm.
fingers right there?
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 grams of fiber are eaten by the average
That's
American
terrible.
per
Wow.
day. And guess what the recommended daily is for fiber? And a lot of people don't know it. It's 25 to 35
Oh, it
milligrams.
is. Okay.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry, 25 to 35 grams of
Wow.
fiber.
Oh, wow. That's a
That
lot of
now,
fiber.
now people say, "Oh my God, how can I do 25 to 35? Are you insane? That can't be."
Well, it
Yes,
comes
it
from
can be.
I think it comes from different sources, right?
Of course, because look what I have for you now that you can think of. And you can
Mhm.
actually make a game out of
Mhm.
that with your children. As they say, so I'm going to give you a simple formula. Eat the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah.
And do that with your children.
Mhm.
You'll see how it becomes not only a game, but you set them up for life,
Mhm.
especially when they are small.
Very
Okay.
small,
So,
right, right.
but notice, look at that.
Yeah.
Asparagus, bananas, green
Yeah.
leafy vegetable, garlic,
Yeah, the
leeks,
green leafy
onions.
vegetables. Yeah.
I don't cook without garlic or
Hmm.
onions. If they are not in my food, I better put them in there.
Here too, they
Okay.
make fun of me. I use too much garlic, they say.
No,
It's a
no, it's
natural
a good thing.
antibiotic too.
That's right. Exactly. There's no such thing as too much garlic or too
Okay.
much onion
Yeah.
in any food.
Yeah.
You want that. Okay. So chicory, ginger, I mean,
Hmm.
definitely you need that. But again, if you have a chronic issue, you may not be able. Now, fiber is not usually
Right. It's
digested,
not soluble, right?
right? But guess what? Guess who benefits from it?
Oh,
Your bacteria.
yeah.
And
So
that
it
is
needs it.
why.
Yeah.
And also, not enough fiber creates constipation problem,
Mm.
creates also not the bulky stool that you should have. See, if you have small stools,
Mm.
not big, and then you say, "Oh my God," there's some people say, "Oh my God, my stool is too big."
Right.
No, there's no such
And,
thing.
and no, and people don't want to talk about it, right? They don't
And
want to
people
talk
don't want to
about
talk. Oh,
things that
I did
they,
a health
yeah.
workshop on stool. People were totally aghast. They said, "Oh my God. Oh. That's another topic also
Right, all together, right? Yes, indeed.
people will be in shock. But anyway, so
Mhm.
the last one, again, phytobiotics. So phytobiotics, these are bacteria on plants that we
Mhm.
eat, right?
Right. Which I'm sure a
So
lot of people
these,
don't know about this at all.
they don't know about that either. So
Mhm.
when we say phytobiotics, they say, "Oh, what is that?" But people have heard of flavonoids. So
Mhm.
flavonoids are really uh, chemicals, but natural chemicals that
Mhm.
are in plants, in fruits. So I gave you examples here. See,
Mhm.
apples, grapes, dark chocolate, berries. But
Mhm.
if you're talking about antioxidants, so a
Mhm.
flavonoid is an antioxidant that you find in many fruits,
Fruits.
in many vegetables. So, for example, resveratrol that you
Mhm.
find in grape, in red wine, is good for uh, your blood flow, for
Mhm.
blood pressure, and so forth.
Mhm.
Another one, lycopene.
Yes.
Lycopene is an antioxidant that you find in tomato, but not
Mhm.
when you have it raw, like in a salad, but it's only when you cook it,
Cook it.
lycopene is released and it can help
Mhm.
you with prostate cancer. Now, I'm not
Mm.
saying, oh, go and buy now. Oh,
Right.
Dr. Wanda said, go and buy a
No.
bag of, no,
Right.
it
No.
has to be incorporated with
Rated.
your lifestyle. See, people
Mhm.
are going for the miracle, the quick thing, boom, boom,
You're
boom, boom,
right.
boom. Uh-uh.
Yeah.
It
Right.
has
Everybody wants the
to,
quick fix.
yeah, quick fix. You know what? Then you're going to be spending more money and more
Lots of
money
money
and more money.
and never
There's
really
and
finding the solution.
exactly, it's a solution.
Mhm.
You want that. So remember when we talked about not
Mhm.
all providers
Yes.
being equal? I want you to understand this. What are you looking for? So when I was talking about strain, now you may say, what's a
Mm.
strain? I've never heard of that. A bacterial strain is nothing more than within the family of bacteria, there are specific ones that do specific things.
Mhm.
That is what we call a strain. So a bacteria usually a bacterium usually has two names. Think of it as your first name and your last
Your
name.
last name,
So,
yeah.
for example, a bacteria will have it, and what you see here, genus and species. Your genus will be your first name, and your species will be your last name, so to speak,
Yes.
right? So, but when you talk about a strain, the way you're going to see that listed, and if it's not listed, most companies don't list them. That's why when you buy a probiotic, if you don't see that strain, you have wasted your money. So pay attention to that. Your strains are targeted and specific to special symptoms that you may have. I'm going to give you an example. You see
You
right
should be
here,
teaching classes every day. You would have thousands of people. I know you teach, but you should be having them maybe every evening, because you would be teaching a lot of people a lot of things,
Yes.
honestly, that they would really never be able to learn anywhere else.
Absolutely. So here you have it. So you see that this is one of the names, Lactobacillus acidophilus. First name, last name, and then you'll see in parentheses the first and last the first initial of the first and last name here, and then a dash hyphen with a number. So and this is research, so it's not as if the company just puts any. No. These are
right. They actually mean something.
Yes, they actually mean something. So I don't remember all of them, but I remember this one. Lactobacillus rhamnosus, for example. This is actually I think rhamnosus. I think this was the one for I'll have to double check, but I'm going to say, for example, for constipation. See, each one of these is specific to a symptom. So imagine, so I'm painting a picture here, and I want you to think about that. You are bloated.
Right.
Nothing has worked. Bino did not work. Right. Gas X has not worked. Prunes have not worked. Drinking a lot of water has not worked. Actually, I have a client like that right now. Chronic constipation. Nothing has worked. Gastroenterologist gave her a probiotic. Has not worked. And I actually told her, I educated her. I said, listen, you got nothing to lose. I'm going to teach you about the strains. And 15 years of constipation was gone in 1 week. She's now increasing her vegetable, but she is staying on the supplement because she has IBS. So
yeah, she needs it. Yes,
exactly. So as a support, she has never felt better in her life. And she's a fitness trainer. She actually, she was skeptical, totally normal. I said, you know what? I totally get it. I said, give this to your gastroenterologist, but I'm telling you, it's going to work. She trusted it. Boom. She called me, and she's telling all of her friends. And she's actually now teaching that same thing. Okay. So just to let you know, natural solutions are important here. So again, we talked about the probiotics and health benefits already. Oh, here we go. So I actually put it here. See, you see what I was just talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
Reduces stress. This one. And you see, because it has numbers, these are strains, specific strains that do exactly what you see underneath them. So if you don't see that on your package of probiotic, you can forget it.
Yeah.
You just wasted your money. Okay. And this is the lifestyle that I'm talking about. Sleep. So important these days. It's not funny. If you have sleep problems, you're going to gain weight. It's going to affect your gut and your brain, because you're not going to be able to, because during sleep, did you know that that is the best time for your brain to detoxify? What?
Right.
What do you mean by that? Yes, because throughout the day, you accumulate toxins that the best time now, your body does it. liver, your kidneys, your
Hmm.
sweat, and everything else. But your brain does it during your sleep.
Hmm.
So, see, if you have restless sleep,
Right.
your
Doesn't
brain
work.
does not have time to complete
Hmm.
the task. Don't forget that.
Hmm.
Mindfulness, meditation, yoga,
Oh, absolutely.
so important.
Yes.
Listen, there are many people they can't do meditation. You know what? Walk in nature. Just
Right.
sitting at a park, looking
Mhm.
at water. I do that. It completely relaxes me. Crochet
But
relaxes
they
me.
say they can't meditate because they really don't understand what meditate means. Like you said, walk in nature, sit a few minutes, take deep breaths, right? They don't really understand what meditation is and is not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Because meditation can be anything that
Hmm.
makes your mind not think about anything that you could be worrying about or any
Hmm.
of your
Right.
problems or even
Right. Being in the
just
moment, just being in the moment.
being in the moment. I like that, Marisa. Being in the moment.
Hmm.
Just say to yourself, I got a moment to yourself because you see so many times we don't have a moment to
That's
ourselves
right.
and we think that we don't have the right to have a moment to ourselves. Let's let's take that rubbish out of our mind. You are just as important. And we as women, we always put ourselves last. As mothers, we
Hmm.
always put ourselves last. As a spouse, we always put
Hmm.
ourselves last. Stop that nonsense. Oh, but you better said than done. You know what? You create your own narrative.
Hmm.
You are just as important as your family. Put yourself first because that's the only way you can give back to your family. Because
Hmm.
otherwise, you're going to burn out and you're going to end up in a hospital.
I always
Point
give the
blank.
example, and people have said that it's selfish, but I always give the example on the airplane. If you don't put the mask on and take the oxygen in, you cannot help anyone else. That's
I
just the
love
way it
that.
is. Everyone will be unconscious if someone doesn't think to put it on themselves and absorb the oxygen, and then they can help everyone else. People
Absolutely.
say it's selfish, but it's the reality
It
of
is
the way things
reality.
are.
And it's not selfish when you are thinking about yourself because you are just as important as any member of your
Mm-hmm.
family. And then the last part, of course, the physical activity that we talked
Nativity.
about, it's whatever helps you
Mm-hmm.
with your mind because everybody knows any type of movement, any good feeling comes, they talk about endorphins, but it's
Mm-hmm.
so much more than that. It's not just endorphin operating here.
Mm-hmm.
And we are at this
And I will
is so
definitely put all this information in
okay.
the description so that
Yes,
people have your information to get a hold of you. It was wonderful, Wanda,
absolutely. Thank
wonderful.
you.
I'm so thrilled that you were able to take the time to come on because I know you're very busy and I know you teach as well as have clients. So I was thrilled because it's so important. This is such an important
Absolutely.
conversation. And if only one person can get the relief from hearing this and find a
Absolutely.
way to seek help, find an avenue to contact you to listen to the show to see what they can take, what steps they can take to
Absolutely.
help themselves. Like I said
And
earlier, we're not going to live forever, but we want to live without dis-ease. We want to enjoy the time we have right
yes,
on this planet, in this realm, at this existence for at this time, right? We certainly
yes.
don't want to be here suffering with disease.
Exactly. And I love the work that you do, Marisa.
Oh, thank you.
Just following what you do um, on Facebook. And for
Oh,
those who are listening, I mean, I've known Marisa for quite a few years. I've always loved what she's done, but even now that we're on Facebook, I see the posts. I mean, this is an amazing human being
oh,
as well.
thank you. Oh,
And
thank you very much. Thank you.
you're
I always
welcome.
love speaking to you. We've been speaking for quite a number of years, always on the mind, body, spirit connection, on how
Yes,
we can all live well, on how always there's abundance for all of us. and how we're all
Absolutely.
here to help one another. So
Yes,
I really, again, I so appreciate you taking the time to speak to the audience, because this is such an important conversation to have. And I would love to have you back on. I mean, my gosh, there's so many different topics we could talk about. I think it's
absolutely.
wonderful. But thank you
Thank you
so
very
much,
much.
Wanda. I so appreciate it.
You're
Have a
welcome.
wonderful afternoon. Thank you
You
again.
too. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.